We're going to keep those prices up. We're not going to destroy the value of their homes so that somebody that didn't work very hard can buy a home.
America has become completely unaffordable, and I don't know why more people are not talking about this. Half of America doesn't even have a savings, rent is insane, healthcare is a luxury, and somehow the narrative is still people are just bad with money. Like, what money? People are working full-time. Most people have 2 to 3 jobs anymore because you have to. At what point do we stop blaming the people and just accept the fact that the cost of living has simply just outpaced reality? Because everything is this expensive, you have to know exactly where all of your money is going anymore. Like, a budget is just simply a necessity. You have to have one. Started using a budgeting app like mine to figure out where all of my money is going, but it does not make up for the fact that America is too expensive to live in anymore.
Hey! So I work in the operating room, and I just worked a 12-hour shift in the operating room, and I cannot afford my rent. I can't afford my rent. I can't afford gas. I can't afford groceries. I can't afford any of my endless other bills that I am responsible for because I am an adult. After working a 12-hour shift in the operating room. So you know what I have to do? I have to DoorDash, and it's 12:30 at night after I've been on my feet in the operating room for 12 hours all day. I'm now out DoorDash driving.
At this point, are you surprised anymore? I mean, when you really look at the state of the country, when you really look at how people are struggling, and when you really look at the decisions that are being made within the administration, the decisions that don't benefit the common people at all, can you really sit here and say that you're surprised? I mean, is anybody surprised at what goes on in the decisions that are made within this country anymore? Because I can sit here and tell you I'm not. I'm not surprised at what they do anymore. I'm not surprised at, the decisions they make. I'm not surprised at people just constantly struggling and people crashing out, right? It honestly, it's going to take a lot for me to be surprised at this point, not even just in society or American society, but in life, right? In life in general, it's going to take a lot for me to be surprised, but that's aside from the point. Now you see the reality, right? These politicians, man, these elites, these oligarchs, all these people, they see us as nothing more than workhorses. They see us as nothing more than workhorses to fuel their pockets, to make themselves richer, to work for the corporations and make the corporations richer, right? The thing of it is, the government, the administration, the president, they don't work for us. Now that's how it's supposed to be. They're supposed to work for us, the people, right? The people of the U.S., the citizens, are supposed to work for us, but they work for the corporations. They work for themselves. They work for foreign entities. They don't work for the common American folk, right? They don't work for us. We're just slaves. We're just workhorses, and that's how they view us. Ask yourself this question. For those of you that are watching this video, ask yourself this question. Trump included, right? All these politicians included. When do you think was the last time that any of them struggled? When do you think that any of them has ever, and I'm not sitting here saying none of them struggled, but when do you think the last time it was that any of them struggled in today's economy, right? To really understand what the average American is going through. And there's your answer right there. They don't, because they don't relate to us, right? They don't relate to you. They don't relate to any of us, right? They're not worried about what goes on, on in the lower realms, right? They're not worried about that. They're too busy worried about dealing with foreign entities, right? They're too busy trying to get money and please that unnamed country, if you know what I mean. They're too busy trying to take, they're too busy trying to increase taxes. They're too busy trying to take that tax money and fund foreign wars, right? They're too busy trying to give foreign aid to other countries while everybody else in America struggles, right? They're too busy doing all that. Ask yourself another question, right? When, when do you think when do you think the last time it was? When do you think Trump looked at budgets? When do you think the last time when do you think Trump has ever struggled, right? When do you think that he really understood what the meaning of struggle was? When was the last time you think he ever understood what the meaning of struggle was? Remember that comment he made? I think it was maybe like during his first presidency when he first got elected. Remember when he made that comment of a small loan of $1 million, right, from his dad? Remember that comment? Because I sure do. Most people would be elated. Most people would be happy to get a small loan of $1 million, right? Most people don't even see $1 million in their lifetime, let alone from their parents, where you probably don't have to pay interest back on that loan because you got it from your parents, right? Yet this man is still continuing to take money from the common people, right? Still, making rules to benefit himself and all of his cronies around him, right? He's still making all these decisions that are effectively pricing everybody out of life, right? Especially the younger generation. And that's just it right there. These people, these politicians, man, these government elites, they don't relate to any of us. That's why they keep making these rules. They don't understand what it is that we're going through. They don't relate to it. They don't relate to you, and they don't care. Right? That's the thing. And I made in one of my previous videos, right? I made in one of my previous videos that boomers are completely out of touch with reality, right? Boomers are completely out of touch with reality, and it shows. Trump is a boomer, right? Trump is a boomer. A lot of people in office are boomers, and they're still making decisions like this. They're still showing that they don't understand the reality of what's going on in this country, right? Ask yourself another. See, I got a lot of questions, man. Ask yourself another question. Do you think someone like Trump, do you think someone like the politicians that are in office, do you think any of them are trying to put together a spreadsheet and figure out the price of car maintenance, trying to figure out the price of rent, right? Trying to figure out the price of healthcare, right? Do you think any of them are really worried about any of that? No, they're not. None of them are worried about things like that. Yet we are, right? Healthcare. First of all, half of Americans don't even have healthcare because it's too expensive, right? Do you think the people up top, do you think they're worried about, oh, we don't have healthcare, we can't go to the office? No, no, they're not worried about that. They're not worried about Americans. They're not worried about people in general. And quite frankly, I don't know what it's going to take for people to realize that these politicians do not care about you. They don't care about what happens to you. They don't care about your struggles. All they care about is, are you working hard enough, right? Are you working, are you giving us the money that we need? Are you paying your taxes so that we can go fund these foreign wars, so that we can give foreign aid to foreign countries, right? That's all they care about, right? And I told you, the answer that they all give us, right? And here's the main problem. The answer that they give us whenever we say we're struggling, right? Whenever Americans say they're struggling, people can't afford anything, people are just priced out of life. What is the answer they usually give us? Oh, just work harder, right? What do boomers tell you? Just work harder, right? Oh, you only working 12 hours? Oh man, you need to start working 16, 18 hours. That's their answer, right? As if hard work has ever got anybody anywhere in 2026, right? Where has hard work really gotten you in 2026? It's gotten you nowhere except for no pay increase, right? Wages stay the same and everything else increases. Prices increase, wages stay the same. That's where hard work has gotten you in 2026. You still can't afford anything. You still can't eat. You still got to choose between filling up your gas tank or going to buy groceries that'll last you a week and a half, right? And that's the society we live in. And it is honestly mind blowing, right? It's honestly mind blowing as to the amount of people that are still making excuses for this country, saying, "Oh yeah, everything's gonna be fine, right? It's just a minor setback for a major comeback." I seriously don't get it, right? I don't understand how people can still make excuses for what's going on in this country, right? They don't care about you. The majority of the politicians, they're not making decisions for the people. They're making decisions for themselves. They're making decisions for what's to come. They're not worried about, oh, the average American can't make it, right? And I will give them this bit of grace, right? There are some people that are living above their means, right? There are people who probably are making enough. They're to an extent probably making it to the point where they can live, you know, an actual survivable life, right? But a lot of Americans, man, a lot of Americans are living above their means. And for those of you that are living above your means, that's your own fault, right? You gotta fix that. You really gotta hunker down. Sometimes you gotta struggle, right? Sometimes you gotta struggle. Sometimes you gotta just, struggle a little bit and live below your means until you can get to a point where you're like, okay, well, I've lived below my means. Now I can upgrade my lifestyle a little bit, right? But too many Americans are living off debt, off credit, right? Too many Americans are living above their means, which is one reason why people struggle, right? So sometimes it's self-inflicted, but for the vast majority, that's not the case, right? The vast majority of people just can't afford anything, and it's unfortunate, right? In this country, right, in the United States, I believe it's only about like 10 to 15% of individuals that are making over 100K, right? And I read a chart. I read a chart online. It was an article that had a chart that ranked the average income needed to survive in said state, right, within the United States, right? The average, right? The average of living in any of the 50 states was over $100,000. It's over $100,000. Now tell me what percentage of the country makes $100,000, men and women included? I think it was somewhere around like 10 to 15%, right? 10 to 15%, and that doesn't even include, right? That doesn't even include taking away taxes and any other expenses that come out with taking your taxes, right? I'm talking about 10 grand every month, right, to get you to a solid 100K, and that's the minimum. And so you tell me whether this country is still savable or not. You tell me whether this country is still, people are still able to make a living out here, right? With how things are continue to go, how things are continuing to go, and how decisions are being made that don't benefit the common people, right? These politicians, man, they don't relate to you, right? They don't care. They don't relate to you, and they don't care that they don't relate to you. They don't want to relate to you, right? They don't want to relate to the average person, right? They don't know what it's like for the average person to have, nothing, right? To have to struggle, to have to choose between feeding themselves or feeding their kids, or, you know, buying groceries or filling up a full tank of gas, right? They don't care. They don't understand what that means. And unfortunately, that's the society we live in. That is the situation that we find ourselves in within the United States. And it's only going to get worse from here. So you got to ask yourself, right? You really got to ask yourself, nobody is coming to save you. Nobody is coming to make things better for you, right? This is, quite frankly, this is the end game. Like, we are entering the end game times of trying to find a way to survive, right? And so that's why I keep telling people you have to try, you have to figure out a way to get it on your own. You have to be able to, that's why I give options, right? Go to another country, right? Use your American dollars to your advantage, right? Use the skills that you have, get your skills up, right? Use whatever you can, whatever leverage you have, and go do something with every skill, every advantage you have. You need to start using every advantage you have, right? And life isn't fair. Life isn't fair. So that's why you have to use those advantages, right? Think about it. Think about what's going on, right? Think about the state of the world, of what's happening right now within the United States. Do you think this is only going to, do you think this is going to increase or get better? Or do you think it's just going to continue to stay the same and continue this way? I think the writing's on the wall, and I think people are just in denial, right? I think people are still in denial and not willing to look at the truth of what's going on. And it's a shame, right? So think about it and awaken yourself. I'll see you guys in the next video.